Mark, this is an FYI. The video is still being broadcast out. So they can see you. On,
You got yourself muted, Mark. But
you're on mute, Mark.
Yeah, but your video is.
And they can see me responding to their needs because I'm answering the answering their questions. What the hell's going on?
Yeah, Diane. Yeah, it's got a little bit of a loop still in it.
You got it.
Broadcast. I can hear me.
What's that?
Yeah. Yep.
In this room.
Okay. Well, they got to hear.
So at 7:30 when Diane.
Turn the audio back on and get started. Audio's on. Okay. Great. All right. For those at home, apologies for the audio issues at the start of our meeting. There was a problem with the system. It's been reset and it appears that they have been resolved. We will resume the meeting now with the next item on our agenda, which is public comment. And just as a reminder for those who are participating by video, that televised public comment is limited to 3 minutes. I will read or call each of you in the order that we received requests. The first person signed up I have is Arthur Weiner.
Hello.
Hello.
Don't know. I was hoping to share the presentation. Fantastic. And then maybe I'll just turn my video off here. Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity to provide public comment. We can go on to the next slide. I just wanted to touch on some COVID topics. Remind everyone at home that, next slide, children are not at risk of death from the virus. So I'm asking you to let families choose whether to send their children to school with a mask or not. Next slide. We've had very few deaths in Washington in 2021, 11 people. Unfortunately, since the last time I gave this statistic, there has been an additional death in the 12 to 19 category, but the total percentages have actually gone down. Next slide, please. Our cases continue to go up, but children are not dying. Children are not at risk of death from this virus. You can read the figures yourselves. They're directly from the state website. I downloaded it this morning. Next slide, please. I wanted to give everyone a touch on some VAERS data. So children are not at risk of death from the virus. However, people are at risk of death from these vaccines. So this data is directly from VAERS. I have summarized it. VAERS is the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. And you can see that 73% of all deaths in the database are from the COVID-19 vaccine. This data dates back to 1990. There are over 1 million records in the database. We have 9,950 total deaths reported, yet 7,300 are from COVID. And I've heard in the public space comment that these COVID vaccines, they're just like the MMR vaccine that we've given to our children, which I've given to my children. They're nothing like the MMR. The MMR data dates all the way back to 1990 in the VAERS database, and there are 72 deaths if you combine the two. Next slide, please. I still love this statement that the CDC publishes themselves, that deaths for 12 to 17-year-olds are so low that they can't even show the numbers in their graphs. Next slide, please. I wanted to provide some context to everybody. So we've had 11, next slide. We've had 11 individuals under the age of 20 die. And I looked at Washington State fatality crash records where there was a driver in the crash who was 15 to 19 years old. And this was for the year 2019. I did it the year before the pandemic, sort of a last normal year. There are 37 records where there was a fatal crash involving where one of the drivers in the crash was 15 to 19. 40 total deaths. And of those 40, 20 people were under age 20. So we've had twice as many people die from vehicle fatalities, and this is just where one of the drivers was 15 to 19, than we have had from COVID. Where is the outcry to change our Department of Transportation rules? Where's the outcry to put people in tanks? Where is the outcry? The answer is it's not reasonable. And neither are the policies that are being forced upon people. So I encourage you to let families choose. Some people are not living in fear. They don't want their children to either. Next slide. My final slide.
Mr. Weiner, if you could just wrap up. You're at 4 minutes now. We limited to 3.
I apologize. Thank you for allowing me to go over. There is mounting evidence that masking children is detrimental. You laughed at me when in September, I think it was, I came before the board suggesting that children will not learn the same with the masks on, and I believe I will proven to be correct. Thank you for your time, and I will exit the meeting. Bye-bye.
Next, we have signed up to speak is Marcel Leon.
Hello. Is my mic working?
Your audio is excellent. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Just let me know when I can start.
Go for it right now.
Thank you. So good afternoon. My name is Marcel Leon, and I am a 12th grade senior in Redmond High School, and I want to present a school-wide concern. But before I do that, I want you to first imagine that you're the average high schooler. Drowsy, fatigued, groggy. You woke up late, and you have to drive your siblings to school while being conscious for about 5 minutes in total. Once you get to school, everyone around you is competing for the least amount of sleep they got. I got 6 hours of sleep. I got 4 hours of sleep. You guys got sleep? This is just another day for the average high schooler. But is this really the environment we want to sustain? Having inexperienced and tired teens driving in the morning traffic? Having students normalize sleep deprivation? I want to suggest pushing the school start times further. Having students wake up at 8:30 would be great. Of course, that would bring complications to clubs, sports, and after-school activities or jobs. Alongside that, bus schedules and morning commutes will have to be changed as well. Obviously, I don't have all the answers. Heck, I'm one person. However, I think some of my suggestions can be a good start to solving some of these issues. Getting city buses to help with student commutes can be an option. Redrawing and rewriting school club schedules, and maybe cutting some homeroom time to have school end a bit earlier. Now, to get more nitty-gritty, UCLA and Johns Hopkins Medicine both suggest that teens have a natural shift in their circadian rhythms, and for those who don't know, our circadian rhythms are the human biological clock. The shift in our circadian rhythms changes our sleep patterns from 8 to 9 p.m. all the way back to 10 to 11 p.m. And along with this shift, the fact that most students have to wake up at 7:30 a.m. for school leads to less than 8 hours of sleep. And this doesn't consider the time it takes to fall asleep, waking up in the middle of the night, morning commutes, or even morning routines. After discovering this, I held a school-wide survey asking students how much sleep they get on average. That survey got more than 600 responses back. Many of these students and reports reported that they slept around 6 hours or even less. Considering that teenagers need around 9 to 10 hours of sleep, this means that teens lose around 20 hours of sleep per week. These tired students are moody, losing motivation in morning classes. They're not working at their best. And on top of that, their memory for classes will be far worse as well. And all this equates to is a sleep-deprived school body. What do they take away from it? They learn that it's okay to be sleep-deprived in our society. They won't learn that to take care of their sleep habits, and they'll have irregular bedtime cycles moving into college. Though I won't sugarcoat it, there has to be education on the student part as well. Many students often might sleep past the 11 p.m. rhythms because of their phones, and I want to put effort into teaching teens healthy sleep habits, such as putting away their phones away after an hour before bedtime, limiting light exposure, and refusing caffeine past noon. With all this set in motion, I can only urge this body to help shift the schedule for the sake of student health. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Leon. Really appreciate it. Next we have signed up is Tara Belfield.
Okay. Hi there, good evening. Also from Redmond High School. My name is Tara Belfield, and I work as one of the school psychologists at Redmond. My son, William, also attends the Emerson High School daycare program. And similar to others this evening, we'd like to speak to the school board, asking them to reconsider the decision to close the Emerson High School daycare program. Many of you may know that in 1976, the daycare program began in response to needs that were identified by the family and consumer science teachers, concerned both about the teen pregnancy rate and the rate of high school dropouts. Over the years, the program has changed names, It's changed locations, and in 1987, it found its home at Emerson High School, where since that time, it is operated as a licensed daycare facility. The daycare is considered part of what we consider the Career and Technical Education Department, and students who enroll in a one-year program there are able to obtain both the classroom learning and the hands-on experience, and they can earn what is called the Merit 30-hour Child Care Basic Certificate. And this allows any student who completes that training to go directly to work in a licensed daycare facility. It's also considered to be a stackable certificate, meaning that students can build upon that. And often, many times, students do and pursue educational opportunities in early childhood education. And the coursework, along with the hands-on experience that these students receive, is in direct alignment with the school district's administrative instructional policy, stating that, quote, whenever possible and appropriate, actual work experience opportunities shall be part of career exploration programs. I know furthermore, in the district Perkins 5 plan, it states that a strength in the district is the investment in programs and activities that increase student equity by providing access, engagement, and success in programs that serve members of special populations, and that the district currently focuses efforts on providing experiences for underrepresented and special populations to encourage enrollment in those programs. To be honest, I don't really quite know of any CTE program, especially after having spent 5 years in the high school setting, of any CTE program that is more accessible, more engaging, and more successful than what these students at Emerson can experience. And I think especially for Emerson High School being such a unique setting, that population of students especially, who may have struggled in a traditional high school setting and can be considered furthest from educational justice, this program is especially tangible for them. The daycare program under the CTE program is aligned with the mission of the district. It allows students an opportunity to be future ready with marketable job skills upon graduation. It is core to the mission of the district, and I think ultimately we would ask the school board to strongly consider the option of keeping it open. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Belfield. Next, I have Andrea Frankenfeld.
Hi, thank you.
Hello.
Good evening. I teach English at Emerson High School. This is my 7th year there. For 5 of those years, my children have thrived in the daycare program. I would like to ask the school board to reconsider the decision to close the daycare, which is a career pathway for students, but also an integral part of the community. The daycare at Emerson was one of the biggest reasons I chose to continue teaching with the district when I had my first child. The daycare provides a nurturing child care option for teen parents, staff parents, and a place for students to learn practical life skills. Yet it is much more than that. The daycare is a central part of our high school community. It provides a CTE pathway for an industry experiencing a workforce shortage, the only CTE pathway to a certificate that we currently have at Emerson, a safe place for students who've experienced trauma to reimagine childhood, a nurturing place for my children to thrive and develop while I work as a teacher, and a pathway for students and children to become thriving parts of our larger community. At Emerson, we're focused on students who need a unique learning environment. Most of my students have struggled academically at other schools. There's usually a transition period where we watch students drop their guards and become a part of the Emerson family. Many students don't experience success, their first success at Emerson, reading The Great Gatsby in my English class, and I love The Great Gatsby. For many, their first success is in the Child Lab class, which 25% of Emerson students requested this year, more than any other program at our school. Having the opportunity for hands-on experience is a big part of building confidence for students who struggle academically and can be the difference between being future ready and dropping out of high school. They learn responsibility in a way that we can't teach in core academic classes, no matter how hard we try. The daycare is one of the few options students have at our school for practical experience that prepares them for a career beyond high school, but also for life as a parent and how to be a nurturing human being. I've heard many students say that being in the daycare is the best part of their day. For example, the student who rarely talks to me in English, but would escort my son back into the building holding his hand after evacuating during a fire drill. The only time I've seen her smile is when she's talking about the daycare kids. She feels a sense of responsibility and pride as part of the daycare. Another student who suffers from PTSD was nervous anytime I approached her in class, but would talk to me about my daughter, who always wanted her to read books. She wasn't always willing to talk about English, but I could always get her to talk about the daycare kids. So we built on that, and she graduated. Under Tracy Bumgarner's leadership, the daycare that is designed for teen parents is a nurturing place for everyone who encounters it. On behalf of the entire Emerson community, I implore you to keep the daycare open. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Frankenfeld. Next, we have signed up for public comment is Stephanie Monahan.
Hello. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about the daycare tonight. I've experienced the daycare as a parent whose child occasionally attended it, as a teacher of teen parents who use the daycare for their own children, and as a teacher of students who work in the daycare. And it's a really invaluable educational program for everyone involved. I first saw how the daycare builds soft skills, competence, and career skills in students who are not teen parents when I was kind of a client of the daycare. My son attended daycare one day a week while I worked in a safety net program when I first started in this particular school. I would hand my toddler off to Lori Thomas and Tracy Bumgarner and this cast of high school boys who did not look like your typical caregivers. That they were so kind and so patient and so good with him that I never worried about handing him off. They were like literally the only people outside my family who I let watch my child, but they were so skilled. And they were really, they didn't fit our standard definition of what a caregiver looks like, but they were so gentle and caring and competent. And they had gained those skills in the daycare that several of those young men went on to work with child care programs at the Boys and Girls Club and through the after school care programs in our district. As a teacher in the building for the last 12 years, I've seen how working in the daycare transforms students into young adults. Our students who study child development and work in the daycare take their responsibility more seriously than almost anything else in their lives. It seems to appeal to kids who have like huge hearts but have really struggled to find themselves as adolescents. So our kids who are most at risk of dropping out. Those students blossom when they work in the daycare. Their attendance improves, and so do their grades. They're relied upon. They come to see being reliable and engaged and compassionate as assets that are necessary for a good life as an adult and any ability to, sustain a career for themselves. They feel so motivated to care for those little ones. It's really wonderful. Eventually, this makes them better employees, better citizens, and better parents of their own kids. And some of the students have been so inspired by their work in the daycare that they've chosen to work at daycare centers and as nannies after they graduate. I feel that this is incredibly important, especially as we as a nation face a crisis in childcare. We need people who are interested in this. We need people who have experience at this. And if that is an opportunity that we can offer students within our school and within the district as a whole, I think we absolutely should be doing that. They get so much great experience with skilled professionals like Tracy Bumgarner, Lori Thomas, and Courtney Rayburn, that they're fulfilling an apprenticeship, similar to programs that we do in our district like Wanak. And I strongly feel that losing the daycare would take a fantastic growth and career experience from students in this school district, one that really we can't really find anywhere else. So thank you for letting me speak on this important program.
Thank you for coming. Next we have signed up is Gabby Reichstein. And you're on mute.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Now I can.
Okay, hi. Thank you so much for having me. Okay, should I start now? Okay. Okay, my name is Gabby Reichstein. I am here to talk about the daycare at Emerson. I'm currently a student at Central Washington University. I'm a senior graduating this year with a bachelor in science. I was a student back in 2016 through 2018, and the daycare at Emerson really impacted my life in more ways than I could have imagined. It was my safe space. Like, I loved coming to school because like the daycare was a part of that safe space. When I found out there was a daycare I could volunteer in and take a class, and I was like over the moon. I've always loved kids, and the daycare made my experience a lot more memorable. Because of the daycare and the things I was taught while with the kids, I figured out what I really wanted to do with my life. I want to say the daycare was a huge impact of what I am now studying in college. Like, I'm studying family and child life with a specialization in child development, wanting to become a school counselor, and wanting to work with kids. And the daycare really spiked my interest in working with kids. Let's see. It was a very huge impact on my life for many years in high school and to this day. I'm even working in a daycare now because I just enjoy it so much. And with the skills that I learned from working in the daycare in high school, I can use today in the daycare that I work in now. Tracy Baumgartner, Lori Thomas, and Courtney Rayburn are more than daycare teachers / workers. They're mentors to me personally, and have helped me develop and have helped me more in my life than they might think. I really hope the daycare does not shut down, because if the daycare closes, we might be losing future teachers, future childcare workers, and other people who might want more experience in the childcare field before going to college or going into the workforce. Because the daycare has really helped me figure out what I really want to do one day. And I hope that I can contribute to the world as a school counselor one day by studying. And the daycare has really helped me figure out who I am today. I hope you revise the decision to close the daycare and allow it to continue. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks for coming tonight. Next signed up is Kelly Marth.
Hi, thank you so much for letting me speak today. Like Tara, I'm also a school psychologist. I've been at Emerson High School for 10 years now, and was also previously at Redmond High School. And daycare at Emerson High School is a critical part of our school community, and it just creates wonderful opportunities for students and staff alike. And I'm just here to ask you to please reconsider the decision to close the daycare. Over the years, I've seen the positive impact Taking Child Lab and participating in the daycare has had on our high school students. Many students come to Emerson because their traditional learning environment has not worked for them. Many have not experienced success in school prior to coming to Emerson. They're often impacted, or many are impacted by low self-confidence and self-esteem stemming from academic failure, from challenges with peer or family relationships, and lack of opportunity due to socioeconomic barriers. And I can also tell you that many have struggled with learning disabilities, ADHD, anxiety, and other mental health challenges that have made traditional school settings and traditional academic classes feel intimidating or fraught for them. Working in the daycare gives the students an opportunity to build their social skills, empathy, patience, and caretaking skills. And this is a place where their soft skills, their skills essential for life, but undervalued in the traditional academic settings, are recognized, encouraged, and even celebrated. The daycare provides the hands-on experiential learning that many students need to build their self-concept as learners and to see the connection between participation in school and success in life. They can see immediate real life applications for the knowledge and the skills they gain in the daycare. And really after graduation, many of our students will never want to need to use their knowledge of Algebra 2. I don't use Algebra 2 right now in my job, or ancient world history. But speaking as a mom of a 4-year-old, they will need to know how to soothe an upset child, how to play, and how to resolve conflict and use positive discipline and rock a baby to sleep. These are essential life skills. Working in the daycare has inspired students to pursue careers like Gabby just described. We're so proud of you, Gabby. And for many, skills they've learned in the daycare have helped them support themselves financially by babysitting or working as a nanny as they pursued further education or working other jobs while looking for long-term job opportunities. They build lasting relationships with the children and the staff. While playing and taking care of the children, they share about their lives and their experiences and their future goals, and staff and parents of the children become mentors to these high school students and role models. And it's really cool. It's not uncommon for adult students who've helped in the daycare in high school or even had children themselves in the daycare to keep in touch and visit and come back and say hi. And these relationships create the close-knit, gentle, compassionate community for which Emerson is known. Like Gabby said, many students choose to eat lunch in the daycare with the children and the staff because it's a safe, supportive place and the children lift their spirits. It's common to see little children and high school students in the hallways at Emerson High School giving high fives and enthusiastic hellos. Daycare children feature in high school photography projects with consent of the parents, hung on the walls, and can be seen outside helping the big kids in the school garden. It's really part of what makes our school special. Even students who do not work in the daycare benefit from its positive impact on the learning environment. Emerson Daycare as a parent enabled me to continue my work in the Lake Washington School District full-time and afford to live in Kirkland where I work. I had my son in 2017 knowing I had access to affordable to high quality daycare. I returned to work when my little guy was 3 months old, and I always felt he was extremely well taken care of by the high school students, which was wonderful, and their mentors. Interestingly enough, at Twain, I have students who've been through the daycare themselves as little babies and are now Twain kindergartners and first grade and second graders. And we've had students come through the high school at Emerson High School who were babies in the daycare when they were little. This is an important program for our school in terms of education, but also important part of our school culture and our tradition. I would love for other parents, my child will be in kindergarten next year, I'd love for other staff members, other parents, and other teen parents who may come along to have the same opportunities that I did. We know the importance of early learning and the impact the daycare has had on our high schoolers and our broader community has been hugely positive. This is a program that should be preserved and even replicated throughout the district. If it's an issue of cost, the program could charge double what it currently does and still be a tremendous value. I'd ask you to please reconsider closing the daycare. It means so much to our students and our community.
Thank you. Next, we have signed up William Gardner.
If we have more speakers, remember it's 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Carlson.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you guys today. I've seen several of you before at our high school graduation, so it's good to see you again. I appreciate the opportunity today to advocate my strong support for the continuation of the Emerson High School Daycare program. It's an integral part of our program for over 30 years, and it's an indispensable part of our school community whose presence and influence extend far beyond its classroom's walls. I'm steadfast in my commitment to add my voice to the chorus of others who desperately want it to remain part of our school. As a graduate from Lake Washington School District, Lake Washington High School, 2000, go Kangs, my understanding experience with the daycare goes back decades. As a student in the late 90s, I was friends with multiple young mothers who accessed the daycare as a critical lifeline in their effort to earn their diplomas. And I've had the opportunity to directly witness the program's impact on their lives into adulthood. By having the opportunity to attend a school where they were afforded the childcare and support that the daycare and its instructors provide, these young women were able to graduate, go on to post-secondary education, and grow into the strong, independent, positively contributing local community members that they are today. I watched this happen over the years, and then I watched how it impacted their children. Excuse me. Cycles of poverty and young parenthood ended, and lives were changed because these young mothers were able to earn their diplomas and affect the change for themselves and their children. I've seen how it impacts lives over time, and I've had the opportunity to watch these results replay time and again with my own students as an educator at Best, now Emerson. I have had the career privilege of a lifetime. In my position as the sole special education teacher and IEP provider at Emerson, formerly Best, for the last 15 years. Over this time, I've come to view the daycare as a source of seemingly infinite joy and critical learning for my students, not just those that are parents. The majority of our student population struggles with mental health in various forms and to various degrees of oral impact. While all of our students are unique and therefore necessitate individualized support to ensure their success, the daycare stands out as an almost universally effective resource for improving anxiety, increasing student engagement, and building self-esteem in a setting where students allow themselves to be vulnerable and open in ways they've never been able to do previously. This, in turn, allows us as educators to connect with them, especially our hard-to-reach students who've never been able to go about doing, who've never been able to do that previously. I apologize. We're able to go about doing our work to help them access their potential as learners and exceptional community contributors, and I've frankly never seen anything like it in my entire career. Finally, my relationship with our daycare is one of very personal nature as well. My son, Thomas, has attended the Emerson daycare program since he was 6 months old and will exit this year when he turns 5 years old in January. I cannot put into words the incredible impact it has had on his early childhood life. For the entirety of his young memory, he's known only genuine love, laughter, and learning from the teachers and child lab students in the daycare. He's developed an affinity for school and learning that I hope will follow him for a lifetime. I'm eternally grateful for the opportunity to have him in such a positive and supportive environment for these critical years in his development. This year, he started with our district's pre-K program at Bell Elementary, and he is thriving. He loves school, and I believe with all my heart this is in no small part due to the tremendous influence of the Emerson daycare. I implore you to listen and believe deeply the sincere personal accounts trying to impress upon you the critical importance of this program to our community as a whole. I realize it may be hard to understand from an outside perspective, but this is not just a daycare in the traditional sense of the word. It's part of the beating heart of Emerson and its students, faculty, and staff. It gives desperately needed hope to young women who find themselves in one of the most challenging life situations possible. It provides the hardest working educators I've ever had the pleasure of working with a fighting chance at helping them earn their diploma, something that will absolutely be critical in helping them not only better their own lives, but also those of their children. If the daycare is taken away from Emerson, we will go on. We are professionals. We will do our job. We will continue to help students, but a part of Emerson's soul will go with it. This investment in the future of the Lake Washington community is worth it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Next we have signed up is Riley Beinhoff, and I apologize if I didn't pronounce the last name correct.
Hello, yes, it's Riley Beinhoff.
Okay, apologies.
Hi, my name is Riley, and I graduated with the Emerson High School class of 2016. I'm reaching out to you in regards to the daycare and why I believe it fits the essential mission to build this district to build a future-ready students. My high school experience was different from most since I became a mother at just the age of 16 years old. Without the Emerson daycare, I would not have been able to graduate high school. I also would not have had the opportunity to discover my passion for early child education and development, as the opportunity wouldn't have been there for me. The daycare was the best support I could have asked for in my situation, not only for me, but for my daughter. It provided knowledge pertaining to child development as well as access to resources that I would need to be successful as a new mother. I was required to complete the STARS training program while taking the child development courses through the daycare. This training program is a requirement for anyone to work in a child care facility in Washington State. This was beneficial to me in more than one way as it led me to choose the career in child education that I have today. Tracy Baumgardner, Lori Thomas, and Courtney Rayburn inspired me to work with children in the early stages of education and development through their positive guidance. I've developed a deeper passion for childcare, and as I personally know how much it can impact it can have on a child's life. Tracy, Lori, and Courtney are more than just daycare teachers. They're the best role models I could have had during the most challenging years in high school. Please revise the decision to close the daycare and allow it to continue so other students can benefit from this incredible program. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Next, we have Anuruddha Ramanath. Again, I apologize if I mispronounced your name.
Hi, I'm Anu Ramanath. I go by Anu, so you're fine.
Okay.
I'm Anu, and I'm a parent of Redmond High School. First of all, thank you for taking the time to listening to my concern. I truly appreciate it, and I'll keep it brief. I'm just a little concerned about the sudden grading policy changed at the Redmond High School, and I hear it's in a couple of Lake Washington, couple of LWSD schools either. Especially the grading policy just coming off the pandemic, I just feel it's not appropriate. In the previous years, the testing portion was 60%, 30% or 20% for homework, and then there was a part for participation. And I really I thought it was a perfect demarcation for the overall growth and development of the child. But just coming off a pandemic, without any notice, the parents were given a little bit setback when they saw the new grading policy, which was 90% for the test and 10% for homework. Just to clarify here, and for most of the subjects, the 10% of homework is also being tested on the homework questions, especially in regards to math. So essentially, it is also like a test or a quiz, which is 100%. I think this has put a lot of pressure, additional pressure on the kids. As it is because of the pandemic, their growth is not the same as it would have been in the normal years. And with this, I think it's just really off the chart, and it's putting extra pressure on the parents too. Most of them are tackling this issue by taking private tutoring. Unfortunately, all the private tutors are booked. And also, it raises equity issue because not all parents can afford the $60 or $55 per hour, which is the going rate. And it's not in person, it's online, which kids do not study really effectively as it is one-on-one tutoring or in-person tutoring. I really wished coming off the pandemic, in fact, if the grading was slightly lower to 50% testing, 10 or 20% for homework, and more 30% to encourage the social skills that the kids lost, to have more group presentations or work in small groups or in pairs, which they're still learning and studying, but as a group, and we are bridging the social difficulty which they lost over the past 18 months. And also I have seen that most of the teachers have taken out the extra credit. So there is actually absolutely no room for a kiddo in case if it's hard for them to follow the teacher. Unfortunately or fortunately, there are some math teachers whose accents are a little bit different and they're hard to follow, or they do have an excellent knowledge, but they're unable to transfer the knowledge to the kids, where the teachers are just doing it just a slideshow. It's one slideshow after a slideshow or a small video presentation. So most of the kids in that classroom are not available, or not available. They feel they are not getting help by the additional help that the teacher is giving them during the homeroom. They are like, well, the teacher doesn't teach anything. She just repeats what she says, which is just off the book or which is off a website, which is not actually teaching. So that is not helpful either. And also, I noticed during the pandemic.
Ms. Ramath, you're
Yes.
at 3 minutes, so if you could just wrap
Sure.
up now.
I just have one more point. Sorry.
Okay, sorry.
Earlier, no, that's totally fine. Completely understandable. Earlier, the semester grade was Q1 grade plus Q2 grade average, but I saw for my daughter in some of them that was not the case. For example, in chemistry last year or this year, I don't know, in one of the first quarters, she had 89.98, and then in the second quarter, she had 92 something. So I assumed her semester 1 grade would be the average of 2, which is a no-brainer, which would be an A, but she was given a B+. She asked the teacher, she asked the counselor, they said, no, this is how the grade is, there has been no error, there is no mistake, but nobody has explained to her or to me, even when I approached, what is this new grading policy and why is it not an A and why is it a B+. I am open to all forms of grading systems. Making a change is perfectly fine, but just making these changes coming off the pandemic and a sudden change without informing the parents or giving the children to let them know that this is going to be a new grading policy would be beneficial in the future. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for coming tonight. Next I have signed up is John Jordan. Hello, sir.
Hello. Sorry, you see the football game in the background. Yeah, my name is John Jordan. I'm a parent of a 4th grader at Wilder Elementary, and appreciate the opportunity to talk with you today. I'm here to speak on behalf of parents who have elementary school children enrolled in the online school, to respectfully request that the board consider an option for these children to re-enroll to in-person learning when we return from winter break. More specifically, we'd like the option for these children to return to school on January 3rd versus what I understand to be the current second semester re-enrollment date of January 31st. The date of January 31st was established before COVID vaccines were approved for children under 12. And most of the families that have elected for online school this year did so over an abundance of caution related to COVID-19. This cohort of families is also likely to have elected for the under 12-year-old vaccination when it became available in mid-November. And as such, many online school elementary students, including my daughter, will have had their 2 full shot vaccination regimen and will be fully protected against COVID by the end of December. So at this point, parents who enrolled in the online school because of COVID should have the option to send their children back to in-person learning on January 3rd. Asking these children to stay in the online school for a full additional 4 weeks instead of allowing them to return to school after winter break is further exacerbating the negative effects of the stay-at-home experience. There's also the burden that's placed on working parents, and that at least one parent's required to still be at home for child supervision, which is a hardship for many who have jobs that require to be in person. While certainly appreciate and respect the dedication and hard work that has gone into the online school, these children are not getting the same quality learning experience of an in-person child. Online creates multiple opportunities for distraction and lack of focus. These children also don't get the same level of individual attention and socialization that they would be getting in person. So it's my opinion that the online school children are falling behind academically and socially. They're also experiencing isolation and a additional level of emotional stress due to being separated from the school experience. And some are certainly feeling the pressures of feeling excluded or different by not being in school due to COVID. So while we appreciate the operational and staff planning challenges associated with bringing students back to school, I strongly request that the board move to be more inclusive to the current online student population and give them the option to return to school on January 3rd. Again, this would reflect the reality that many online school students will be fully vaccinated for COVID by that time at the end of winter break. And thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Those are all of the televised public comments that we have for tonight. I also want to recognize that the board received lengthy written comment as well in advance of the meeting. That written comment has been compiled and provided the board. It will also be published on board docs for this meeting. We received written public comment from Catherine Smith regarding anti-racism, Teresa Lane regarding testing to stay protocols, support for teachers of color, public comment from Joy Randall, high school grading and Alice drills, public comment from Janice Wilson Bash, And then public comment on high school grading from Karithika Vaniskatian and Elisa Sang. And all of that written public comment has been compiled, provided to the board, and is posted for viewing on board docs. Before we move to the next item of our agenda, I actually want to briefly return to earlier items from the agenda that were not broadcast by audio. We have some concerns that the audio may not be captured either for posterity. So for that reason, we're going to have Directors Choi and Stewart go round 2 on their oath of office tonight. So it better be better the second time, as I'll say. And then Dr. Holman, could you lead us through that?
I would be honored to lead them through this. So, Mark, you're up first. I would say again, but if something's not heard, can it really be again? So, anyways, please raise your right hand. I, Mark Stewart.
I, Mark Stewart.
Do hereby solemnly swear.
Do hereby solemnly swear.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of Washington.
And the Constitution of the State of Washington.
And will faithfully discharge the duties of.
And will faithfully discharge the duties of.
Director of Lake Washington School District number 414.
Director of Lake Washington School District number 414.
In the County of King.
In the County of King.
State of Washington.
State of Washington.
According to the best of my ability.
According to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
We'll close that Emerson daycare of my dead body.
Okay. Leah Choi.
Yep.
All right. Second time's a charm, right? Okay.
Yep, I got to practice it, I guess.
Yeah, go ahead and raise your right hand. I, Leah Choi.
I, Leah Choi.
Do hereby solemnly swear.
Do hereby solemnly swear.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of Washington.
And the Constitution of the State of Washington.
And will faithfully discharge the duties of.
And will faithfully discharge the duties of.
Director of Lake Washington School District number 414.
Director of Lake Washington School District number 414.
In the County of King.
In the County of King.
State of Washington.
State of Washington.
According to the best of my ability.
According to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, and then also for posterity during our audio difficulties, Director Bleasner was elected by unanimous vote to serve as legislative rep until the next board reorganization in June or July. I forget the exact month that we typically reorganize, but to finish out the term vacated by Director Sage. Thank you, Director Bleasner, for agreeing to serve in that capacity. Okay. The next item on the agenda is approval of December 6, 2021 consent agenda. I'll now entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Director Bleasner that we approve the consent agenda as presented, seconded by Vice President Stewart. Dr. Holman, will you please poll the board?
Director Bleasner?
Yes.
Director Carlson?
Yes.
Director Choi?
Yes.
Vice President Stewart?
Yes.
And President La Liberty?
Yes. Dr. Holman, will you please summarize the donations that we've received in advance of the meeting today?
Absolutely. I want to recognize our PTSA tonight for their generous donations totaling more than $21,000. We appreciate their partnership in the support of our students and community. Thank you.
Great. The first item on the non-consent agenda is approval of the 2022 legislative platform. Dr. Holman, will you tee us up for this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and just walk through the legislative platform prior to board discussion. And so on an annual basis, the board goes through a process of really identifying those most urgent items that also benefit through the legislative advocacy process. These aren't all of the issues that are relevant and meaningful to the board, but these are issues that have high impact and that the board knows through legislative processes we can make some movement for the students of our school district. And so last year we started categorizing the different legislative platform items into 3 different categories. Urgent being those items that really need to be addressed in the very, very near short term, given the high impact. Short term are items that many of these have been on the platform for a number of years. And so these are things we continue to come back to. And long term, these are issues that we know will take a number of legislative sessions to get any movement on. Some of these have been on the board's platform for a number of years. So when we think about urgent, the board identified 2 specific items. One is equitable COVID support with a bullet point of providing commensurate levels of COVID funds by size of district, knowing that COVID did not discriminate. And as COVID played out in our communities, everybody was impacted. We also know that there were communities that were more substantively impacted due to availability of work, availability of food resources, housing access. And so we recognize that there are needs for differentiated funding, but we, as in Lake Washington, we actually received some of the lowest amounts of COVID funding per pupil in the state of Washington. The pandemic also laid to bear the need for truly adequate funding for technology. And had our community not provided substantial support over the years for our capital projects levy, we would not have been prepared and able to shift to remote learning with the manner that we did. And so there's disparities all across our state. And so making sure that technology funding is addressed for all districts across the state, including Lake Washington School District, is critically important. One of the data points around our technology, we receive about 10 to 15% of our required dollars for technology from the state, meaning our local community is funding about 85 to 90% of our technology infrastructure right now. In the short term, fully funding special education programs is the right thing to do for kids, but also we are currently using local levy dollars to backfill for what the state is not paying for in terms of our special education programs and services, about $21 million annually. We also know that the school employees benefit boards, the benefits that are now for all school district employees across the state, well, that was a good thing in one sense. They also didn't fully fund all of the aspects of that adoption. And so making sure that we eliminate the charge for districts when employees waive benefits is one of those steps to be able to make SEB actually financially viable for school districts. Under the social emotional learning category, providing more funding for our counselors and mental health supports, knowing that our local community continues to backfill for what the state is not providing right now. And then our ongoing work of ensuring that we attract, recruit, and retain both high quality and a diverse staff. And a couple of key things there is making sure that teaching credentials, that there's reciprocity between states. Allowing people to move here much easier so that they can come teach here, be here without having to jump through significant hoops. And then the other concept around ensuring that we're recruiting high quality and diverse staff, and just considerations around partnerships including the reciprocity of teaching certificates and credentials with historically Black colleges and universities. One of those ways that we can diversify our staff, knowing that they also are going through the rigors of those colleges and universities to receive their teaching credentials. And then in the long-term category, knowing that construction funding here in Lake Washington School District is critically important, because we've had over 7,300 students new to our district in the last 10 years. And we know that in the next 8 years, we're going to have another 3,500 students, given all of the construction that's currently happening within our communities. And so the idea of being able to access dollars for construction of new classrooms and schools, and so kind of three specific pieces: advance a constitutional amendment to make simple majority for school bonds happen. And so we're asking the legislature to move that forward so that voters in the state of Washington can actually take action on that, either approving that or not approving that. But our ask is that they move that forward so that that can take place. The whole idea of providing additional state assistance as schools are building, as districts are building new schools. Currently, given the formula that the state uses, Lake Washington School District receives $0 from the state anytime we need to build a brand new school. And that's based on a very archaic formula, which, as you think about it, doesn't make a tremendous amount of sense, knowing that we are growing rapidly, yet every time we add a new school to the system, we receive no dollars from the state for that construction. And then another line item that, as we're thinking about advocacy, one of the things that could help school districts really across the state afford the classrooms and space that they need is eliminating the sales tax on school construction projects. Something that the legislature could take action on and would save districts significant financial resource. And so this is the legislative platform that is presented to the board for discussion tonight and potential action. So with that, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Holman. Do any board members have any questions on the legislative platform that's being presented? Yes, Director Carlson.
So, as we have a new board member, I thought it might be useful to provide a little bit of background on how legislative sessions run, because most of us as private citizens may not have been involved in lobbying our legislature for things that we want. So, John, would you give her a quick briefing on the short session, long session?
So we're entering into
it's a pop quiz, John.
Yeah, I know. Seriously, I didn't study up on my. It's okay. I think I've got it. So every other year there's either a short session or a long session. During the long session is when the legislature adopts a 2-year budget. During the longer session, oftentimes they're identifying legislation that may have more fiscal notes associated with it. Typically, just in the past number of long sessions, they've had to go into extra session just because of the complexities of the budget, of the different topics that the legislature was addressing. McCleary was within the last 4 years. So these are like huge issues that the state had to deal with. We're going into a short session, which is where they're essentially reconfirming revenue. They typically don't do significant adds to the budget during the short session, but that isn't always 100% true. From time to time, they may do some adjustments here and there. And so when we think about some of these items that come with significant financial implications, for example, full funding for special education. Typically in a short session, that's not something the legislature is going to take on. I think if I remember correctly, the total dollar amount for the legislature to fully fund special education is about between $300 and $400 million. And that was 2018 estimates as they were talking about McCleary. But for us, when we think about the advocacy of some of these topics, it's really important that we always keep fully funding of special education in front of our legislators, because that issue never goes away for us. Our local community continues to fund a program that is federally required and funded through the state and federal government, yet our local community continues to fund it. So the legislature may not take action, certainly need to hear from us from these very important topics. So, Chris, I don't know if I hit the key points you were looking for.
John, you hit the key points, and you hit them more professionally than I would have, so very well done.
A plus.
Okay, any other board member questions? Okay, and
So
just
this is
a
our
reminder.
last-
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, this is our last in-person meeting before the session will be getting rolling. So adopting this now is good.
Yes, correct. And thank you, Director Carlson. I was just going to, for those working at home, this is something the board has spent a significant amount of time on in the last 3 months or so, including former board member Director Sage. Spent a lot of time working on this as well. We thank her for that. And so, okay, given that, I will now entertain a motion to approve the 2022 legislative platform as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Director Stewart and seconded by Director Carlson that we approve the legislative platform as presented. All those in favor, please signify by voting aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, the motion carries. The next item on the non-consent agenda is review and approval of the board summary prepared for results 2. Dr. Holman, can you tee us up for this as well?
Absolutely. In preparation for tonight, I pulled out my, oh, you can't see it, my Governing Coherently book to try and find something salient to share with the board around the process you're engaged in tonight. I believe it was in October that the board approved monitoring report results 2. And from that discussion, board discussion, Director Bleasner took that information, compiled it into the summary report that you're discussing tonight. And I wish I could have found something pithy, but I wasn't able to find it. Ultimately, what is tonight about? Tonight is about you as a board reconfirming your discussion and essentially action items around results 2. And why is that so important? If you think about results being the ultimate focus of the board, because that is, as the board thinks about the governance of a school district, it's about ensuring that students have the outcomes, experiences, and overall results that is expected of this board. And so by continuing to come back to, if this is our monitoring results, we have an approved report, well, here's the next steps that the board is asking of the superintendent. And so this is an important step when you think about results, and something that we're going to build into all of our cycles so that the board is clear with me around your discussions, places where you see areas needing improvement or areas that you need further information. And if the board identifies specific policy change, that the board has an opportunity to document that as well. So tonight is about essentially certifying what Director Bleasner captured in the summary, clarifying anything that's in that, so that when that officially gets handed off to me, that I am crystal clear that this is the voice of the board regarding results 2.
Thank you, Dr. Holman. Not pithy, but still incisive. Thank you. Let's see here. Any board member questions on anything that's in the summary? Director Choi? You're on mute.
Sorry. So I do have, I guess there'd be more questions and comments potentially than anything. So I understand that what I'm about to say is probably, this is probably not the correct step of this process for me to bring it up, but as I wasn't a board member during the previous steps, this is my only opportunity to kind of ask these questions. So bear with me for a second. As somebody who's reading through this without having been involved in the discussions about the results and the indicators, I was finding it difficult to understand where some of the data summary and findings about reasonable progress being made were coming from just based off of the data that is in the summary itself. So I understand that the FastBridge assessment, there's no historical data for us to see a trend, to see whether or not there's a comparison number to measure progress. And I'm assuming that the summary is based off of other information outside of the FastBridge then, since we only have 1 year of data of that test result, correct? And so I think from that perspective of not having that additional information or even a bridge type of measurement between the previous assessment method and the FastBridge assessment method was difficult for me to follow. And then another area that I wanted to ask a question about was kind of the standardization of the indicators for the different subject areas. So, for example, why is language arts, the goal is greater than 90% of student groups having, grade C or higher, but then different subject areas, it's greater than 85%. Like, it seems a little bit arbitrary. I wasn't sure about the history about it and also why that was the way that it was. And I didn't really see explanation of that anywhere in the document either. So nothing that I'm saying is to stop this process. It's more questions that maybe I would have asked during the discussion earlier.
Good questions too. I guess before we go to Director Stewart, we'll try to address some of those questions. Actually, Dr. Holman, I'm going to punt to you on the last one first. I'm trying to remember the history. So in terms of the indicators and how that we arrived at those percentages, I'm recalling. So the process. I'll start prattling on, and then Dr. Holman, you can help me out. The process for the indicators is something the board works with the superintendent historically. We set what the policies are, and the superintendent provides his or her reasonable interpretation of those. And then cooperatively with the board, we agree upon what the indicators will be. For the specific indicators that are currently in R2, I believe those were set actually with Dr. Holman's predecessor 3 or so years ago. And the thinking at the time was they were, and that's why I'm honestly, that's why it's a good question, because I'm trying to remember the history of it. And I believe at the time, so we had with us, obviously prior performance data. And the idea was to set goals that were targets that were a bit of a reach, but attainable. And that was a function of where we were at the time that those were set. I don't know. Somebody pipe in if I didn't quite. Okay.
No, you've got it. I mean, Director Choi, you're going to run into SMART goals over and over on the board. And this was the difference between, at the end of the day, we want 100% of kids to succeed in language arts, period. But if you tell the teachers that they've got to make 100% of the students next year succeed in language arts, it's actually disabling, not motivational. And so we were trying to find goals that were aspirational, where we would be moving the needle in the right direction and moving it far enough that in a few years of progress, one would hope that you would actually be where we'd hope to be in the long run.
Although it appears that was not clear in the writing of the monitoring report, so when it was read, that did not jump out. I think that is a fair statement, that with that trend data not being provided or the rationale, that was missed.
Yeah, those were excellent statements.
All of our public has.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think all of our public has the same questions. So you just asked what the voters and parents want to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's right. Those are incisive questions. Okay, any other board member questions on the summary of the monitoring report?
So just to make sure, Leah had the first question in regards to the FastBridge and assessment and the bridging of that data. I'm not sure if that got answered, so I just wanted to toss that out there so it didn't get lost, or it will be answered later.
And FastBridge is our new DIBELS, right? So to some extent, the joy of DIBELS and FastBridge is that they're actually within a year. You're getting a beginning of year, middle of year, end of year. So they're not just an end of the year, once a year you get a summary. So there is a transition from end of last year to the beginning of this year. I mean, there's one data point, but really what you're asking is at beginning of year, are your students at a standard? And FastBridge and DIBELS, this is one where I'm going to defer to John, but I seem to recall that it was basically DIBELS was not substantially different. It's just DIBELS didn't do math too. Is that an accurate summary of the transition to FastBridge?
And DIBELS was transitioning platforms anyway, so we took a look to see what other benchmark assessments were available. You're right, DIBELS did not do mathematics, and it also spanned more grade levels. So that's why we adopted it. And some other reasons, but
which I can appreciate, changing an assessment method, and this isn't the first time and this won't be the last time that this happens, but I do think that there needs to be some sort of continuation of being able to monitor progress, and that needs to be considered during that bridge time. So I was just kind of curious if there was anything in place or that could have potentially been, used.
So we started the adoption process in let me just see if I can resurrect this history, the 2019-2020 school year. And as we went into shutdown is really when we were finalizing the adoption. And so then as we started the 2021 school year in full remote, we actually had to make a decision around, do we even try and launch FastBridge as a new tool in the system? And so I don't have all of the kind of the hierarchy of how we implemented it, but some of it was optional for staff, knowing that teachers were learning, how do I do remote teaching and learning and all of that. And then the availability of students to be able to conduct, because much of it was for our youngers, a lot of it does need to be in person, and so trying to modify it for a remote space. So there was just some technical challenges with that in terms of using any tool, and then learning a new tool at the same time was problematic. So that's the other issue with the FastBridge data overall, is just the fidelity across the board was difficult to achieve. So this year's data will be much more robust in terms of, but to your question of, did we have an interim progress monitoring tool? We did not.
Any other questions? Director Stewart?
Yeah, at the time, there have been a number of times when we've switched from, whether it's the DIBELS in the current system, or for that matter, other issues that we've come across when we had to switch from system to system. There needs to be a bridge developed. I would wholeheartedly recommend that we partner up with somebody at UW or WSU, wherever, and find a way to go from point A to point B with meaning. We've had a number of situations in which we've done that, and it's always been apples and oranges, and it's never come close even to a fruit salad. So I would encourage us to try and reach out to the universities to see what in the world we could do that could actually make a bridge for either, not only this one, but there have been other assessments too, when they, I think, I'm trying to recall now what other system that had changed too, that was a state assessment. And
also MSP.
Thank you. That's the one I was thinking of. Somebody has a good memory. Thank you.
So the question as we have the summary and the approval, once a motion is on the table, it sounds like a potential amendment that could be put forward to be added to that summary. In adding that piece as an action component going forward. But that's just, I think, would be the process on how we would put that in. And Eric, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Nope, you're not wrong. Director Carlson?
So first, I want to thank and acknowledge Director Bleasner taking our conversation and turning it into a coherent set of paragraphs, much less the set of pretty good bullets. There's only a couple typos, but you're fantastic. I really appreciate that. But this is something where structurally there are pieces of this that I really like about the way that we've got this feedback, because the presentation of the report is not something we've historically broken out, and I think it does matter. It's not something that's necessarily a scoring metric for performance of the district, but it's certainly something where you can improve our performance as a board by giving us the data in formats that help us see the trends that we want to see to make informed judgments. So 4-year trends are a lot more valuable as a graph than giving us percent change from the beginning to the end, especially when it might be bouncing all over the place. I mean, does the trend mean anything? It means you need to see multiple years. So I think that Director Bleasner has done a great job of synthesizing the conversation in terms of the direction and actions to be taken forward. The only thing that I personally would just like to just to underline in the report is that, particularly for reading and literacy, learning more about how our intervention efforts around dyslexia are working is a big deal, and finding ways to report out on our SPED interventions effective for the students who are affected is something that could be a significant improvement to how we receive these data.
So it sounds like we might need a motion.
Yeah, I agree. We were still on the questions part of the.
Sorry,
program,
I stepped
that's
past
okay.
that.
That's all right.
I would believe that
so I've not heard questions in a few rounds from board members, so I'm going to cut off the questions now. I will now entertain a motion to approve the board summary for results 2 as presented. And then I will also, if anyone has after that, if anyone has a motion to amend that, I will entertain that. So, but for now, I will entertain a motion to approve the board summary for results 2 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Director Stewart, seconded by Director Carr, Director Bleasner, that we approve the board summary for results 2 as presented. Any additional comment or motions relating to the pending motion?
So do we need amendments on specific things? I'm actually comfortable with the language as it stands, and so I'm listening.
If there, I guess what I will say is, if this board summary is the board's statement of its monitoring of results 2, and if somebody believes that summary needs to be amended, I think just to be safest and best, we should do that formally with a motion. So. Director Stewart?
I'd move that we explore possible translations, if you will, from assessment A to assessment B with appropriate academic institutions to see how we can compare A to B, whether it's this testing system or another. So I move that we explore opportunity to find ways of making our data contiguous, if you will, in reporting. Anybody more eloquent than that, go ahead.
No, I understand your interest. I'm just trying to figure out. So I think if I can ask just for clarification, I think that as I understand it, it would be to amend the board direction action section to add an additional bullet point that would ask, well, actually, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Is your question, I suppose one way it could do would be presentation of the report.
Siri mentioned the idea of an action item, so that's the only thing I can go by.
Yeah, no, I understand. So I guess as I understand your motion, then it's to add an additional bullet point to the board direction action to ask that future changes to indicators that staff attempt to reconcile the data with prior data. I probably didn't say that all even more.
May I
That
suggest
was
that
significantly less coherent.
May I suggest, Eric, that we do it prior to getting a new transition of assessments that we explore now with the various universities or whoever to find ways to transition from point A to point B, regardless of the system, and that we have it in reserve and it's ready to go.
Yeah, I understand the interest. Looks like Associate Superintendent Van Orden has. Yeah, sorry, Dr. Holman.
Well,
I was going to say that I'm not sure I want to get this deep into telling you how to make these transitions. That's operational. This isn't policy. As far as a feedback to you, usually when you transition from one measurement to another, we do have a lot of thoughtful adoption up front, but that evaluation of as we transition, trying to find a way that we can keep a record that is, as Mark put it, that the data set doesn't have a blip where, oh, well, now we can't use anything in the past and we're starting all over. That's something where, as a piece of feedback, I think that we as a board could suggest to the administration that when we do have these discontinuities, that we would like to see you find a way to do your best to make the data reverse compatible so that we can actually compare today to 4 years ago. And it's not telling you how to do that, because I know that you do a lot of work in terms of developing which ones are the ones that are in the game and comparing them at the teaching level, at the effectiveness level. But really at that transition point, there is a reasonable point to be made around how do we as a board continue to evaluate data when there's discontinuity in the data. So, in the instrument.
Director Choi, and then Mike.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I opened Pandora's box a little bit with this comment. So I was referring to future, not necessarily this time around with the FastBridge assessment. Just like Chris was saying, that normally it'd be nice to have some sort of even if it's potentially doing both assessments at the same time for 2 years, because so that we can continue to have progress with the old assessment and then create a history with the new assessment going forward. That's just one suggestion. I'm sure there's many other ways to do this. And it wasn't necessarily about changing or adding anything to results 2. Just would like to clarify that.
Yeah, and I think this is more a function of what the board would like to see and not what we do or haven't done. We have DIBELS data, and we actually use that data to inform the following year. And we could very easily say, these are kind of some bands that if you perform at this level on DIBELS, it would be approximately this level on FastBridge. And the reason we can do that, and one of the values of these tools we use, is they're nationally normed. So you can compare similar groups. So we do that internally, and if you want to see that as a board, but I'm a little, I guess, I'm coming on because I'm a little concerned. It's the conversations like, well, you're not doing these things. And really what your interest is to see the pattern and make sure we're still making progress. So we have the data. It's a doable thing. It's not like we had a transition where we lost a bunch of data and we didn't use it to make instructional decisions.
So with that, then perhaps the comment in the summary that states use 4-year trend data going forward is adequate to address that need.
Yeah, and with, we put some caveats. Tim Krieger would have some statements that would say, be careful of making too many connections, but you could see some general trends. Are a certain number of students performing at or above where we'd expect them at the end of the year? And that's what these tests give us, is that based on national samples, you would expect students to perform at this level if they were at the end of their 3rd grade year. And if they're above that line, you're good. If they're below, you want to continue working. And we have those are similar measures across assessments.
I withdraw the motion.
Dr. Holman?
I just wanted to provide a for example, as we work through like smarter balanced assessments. So our students just completed the 2021 spring assessments, and they completed them in October. And we're starting to get our results back with a huge banner that says, do not use these data to compare. And so there's reasons why the consortium, and that's a large consortium with a lot of statisticians working on these data, there's reasons why they say don't use these for comparison. And Tim and I just had a conversation the other day of, well, how are we going to use this for comparison so that the board has a visual to be able to see 4 years worth of data? And so it's this tension between actually quality use of data and the need to understand the history of our students. So there's a tension there that is real, and we have to understand what we're doing when we are using data SBA just conducted, being told don't use for comparative purposes for a whole bunch of reasons. They didn't actually assess all the standards. They didn't do writing in the literacy portion. So for all of those reasons, it's important to use it with an asterisk. And so those are other pieces of the puzzle, the data puzzle, that we need to be aware of.
Thanks. Director Carlson and Director Stewart.
And so this is something where you really put your finger on it, John. I'm fully aware of the advice that you're getting. Don't compare apples to oranges. But on a policy level, we have to try and drive the district. And from 14 years on the board, I can tell you that about every 7 years, the instrument changes. And I am not going to pretend that every 7 years we know nothing. So it is something where I appreciate that it's hard. I am absolutely happy to have an asterisk on the graph. I'm also happy to have something that, because most of these are nationally normed instruments, to have something where you just take the old data and you try to just present it in terms of relative to national averages, here's where we're at, rather than the absolute number in whatever metric you're using. It would be like going from SAT to ACT scores. You can just tell us this student, our district is the student, and our district is at the 89th percentile nationally. I'm good with that. But it is something where Director Choi has brought up something where I can't believe it's at your very first board meeting. I have seen this multiple times, been through this, and you're very precocious to be acknowledging that it's a problem when you're just beginning to see it. So, and I fully appreciate it from Mike and from Dr. Holman. This is a challenge. If you can help us, give us the data. So I actually wrote up a quick thing. I mean, basically it's just a sentence, but the board has an interest in continuing to evaluate trends across transitions between instruments. So we request that retrospective trend data just doesn't start all anew every time such a transition happens. And we understand all the caveats. This is not something where we're distributing it to parents and telling them, oh, well, a fast bridge of 23 means that your kid was a Dibbles 2. Whatever, that's not what this is about. This is about us trying to monitor performance for the district. And we can't stop monitoring performance every time the test changes.
Perfect. Thank you, Director Carlson. Director Stewart?
Yeah, with all due respect to our staff statisticians and our staff, Tim Krieger, and all the hard work that they do, and I understand that they're not comparing apples to oranges. That's why I was hoping that we would do at least a check with some of the academic institutions to find if they've developed a method in which that this could be done more reasonably, other than just overlapping or whatever, just to find out what's out there. Explore the options, as opposed to just throwing up our hands and saying we're going to put an asterisk on it. Just a thought.
Any additional some echo? Any additional board member comments? Dr. Bleasner?
There
you go. Now you're on.
It takes a little bit. I just want to say I appreciated the discussion and how this went, and thank you to both Mike and John for jumping in as well and providing that lens as well in that conversation. I think that's helpful as we work through this. So I hope this continues in that conversation. I think that's an important piece. But I do believe we still have a motion on the table. So
we do. Any additional? Yes. So the motion on the table right now, the pending motion is to approve the summary as presented. Is there any additional?
Yeah, so now we get to, for Director Choi's benefit, the difference between how one is supposed to do it according to coherent governance and trying to get things done. And we could try and put this in as an amendment and to sort of massage the text. But operationally, I think that Dr. Holman and Mr. Van Orden have definitely heard what we're telling them. They are not going to drop that ball. We don't have to put it in writing unless we felt very passionately about it. I'm comfortable leaving it as oral.
And my comment on that is I think that the summary captures that already. We've requested that staff provide 4-year trend data.
Yeah.
Going forward. And
yeah.
So
anyway,
thank you to everyone for
so Eric, you're trying to move forward.
I'm
go for it.
Maybe. Any Director Bleasner, your hand's still raised. Do you have anything else? No. Any other comments on the summary as presented? Okay. The pending motion is to approve the board summary for results 2 as presented. All those in favor, please signify by voting aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. One quick thing before we move on. Thank you again, Director Bleasner, for putting that together. And I think just for everyone on the board, I apologize for the long lag between. I actually think it worked to our benefit in that we were able to have Director Choi on for this conversation. But going forward, the idea will be a much more compressed time from when we have the monitoring presentation to when the board reviews and adopts the summary report. Yes, Dr. Holman.
Director Bleasner and I met, I believe it was last week, to kind of just talk through the process. And so one of my action items from that meeting was actually to document the process and get that to the board for review. And what we were thinking was approve a report at one meeting. At the next meeting, the board has the discussion around the summary. And that's for our operational expectations and our results monitoring reports. So that's the timing we were thinking of.
And that, Dr. Holman, you will be preparing and providing it to the board, a write-up of the process and board briefs? Okay.
Yes.
So keep an eye out for that, everyone. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the superintendent report. Dr. Holman, do you have a superintendent report tonight?
Yes, I do. And as the board knows, we are in the midst of our informational campaign since the board approved 3 levy measures for the ballot, the February 8th, 2022 ballot. And what you see here is the one-pager that we call it, and this is the information that is shared with the public often, and just gives kind of that brief synopsis. And so we just finalized this within the last few working days, and so thought I would share it with the board tonight, knowing that this is a document that we will be sharing. I know you'll be sharing as you're interacting with community members. Also want to recognize that a number of us have been in already a number of different places providing levy presentations, whether it's service clubs. We've met with I believe it was the 45th Democrats, the 1st Democrats, to provide them with information around the levies as they're considering their support, and appreciated board members participating in those and being present in those as well to be there, but also to provide comment and support for this process. And so we have a number of different types of levy presentations, different than we've done in the past. We're reaching out to our corporate partners such as Microsoft, Google, Facebook, Amazon, all of these employers that we know that many of the residents in Lake Washington School District work. And so doing things like lunch and learns where they can hear information, ask questions while they're on the job site. So we're working with a number of those. I believe we have one scheduled here in the next week or so with Microsoft. So looking forward to that. We're also going to be doing some virtual town halls for the community so that they don't have to go to a PTA meeting. They don't have to be connected to a service club, but we'll just be providing the broadcast so that they can, again, receive information and then ask questions through the chat feature in the Teams Live event, so that there is a way for anyone who's interested to hear about our levies so that they can actually participate. And so a number of different strategies going on just to get information out about the educational programs and operations levy, the capital projects levy that supports technology and facilities, and then our building excellence levy focused on construction. And so that process is in place and moving forward, and just thought I would give you a brief update around that tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Holman. The next item on the agenda is public and community affairs. Does any board member have anything to report tonight?
I attended the first and the 45th meetings, and we were able to, because of the way the law is set up, John and company gives the information report, and then the board members are allowed to twist the arms. And we gave our interpretation of why it's needed, and we met with very good reception from all the groups so far. And while I'm very glad we're going to have a online ability, and people don't have to join the service clubs. I'd recommend you join the service clubs anyway, just for the hell of it, because it's good for the community. Anyway, that's all I had to add.
Okay. Any other anything? Excuse me, I can't talk tonight. Anyone else with anything on public and community affairs? Director Bleasner?
So just quickly, with the adoption of the legislative platform and that, we'll be working at setting up those engagements with our local legislators and following through on that over the next month, and trying to get that into place, as well as some other additional components we've talked to. I did have the opportunity to attend a meeting with Prior Director Sage, as well as Representative Vandana Slatter, to do some discussions around access to higher ed, actually, and some CTE work. So in conversation with her. And so we will continue those conversations going forward.
Great. Thank you, Director Bleasner. And as those are set up, I'm assuming that will be those opportunities will be circulated. I see Dr. Holman nodding his head to the board for individual board members to sign up and participate. We can, just as a reminder to everyone, we can have 2 board members per meeting, so as not to have a quorum.
I would also highlight that tomorrow is the Ledge Learn with WASDA. If you haven't signed up for theirs, they do a monthly opportunity for you to just be able to hear sort of what's happening there for any of the board directors.
Excellent. Director Stewart?
Yes, by the way, the 48th LD is also preparing a resolution in support of the levies. The others are voting on them as they're prepared, but 48th is already preparing their prior to having a discussion, or prior to having a presentation.
Okay. The next item on the agenda for tonight, and the final item on the agenda, is board member comments. Does anyone have any additional comments for tonight? Director Carlson, then Director Stewart, and then Director Choi.
I was going to give the floor to our junior colleague.
Fair enough. Director Choi, you may go first.
Thank you. Well, thank you for this very memorable first meeting, first of all, to everybody. I really appreciate it. I did have just kind of one question, and I don't know if this is the right spot for me to bring it up, but I did have the opportunity to attend the WASDA conference, their annual conference, a few weeks ago, and I know some of my fellow board members were also there, but we elected to kind of attend different breakouts and learned a lot of different information. And I was curious if there was a process for kind of bringing that information back to everybody else that is on the board for kind of debriefing or disseminating information in that way.
This is the problem with not everyone being in person all the time. And historically, we kind of would at least over lunch have the opportunity to have conversations. I think that board member comment is a good opportunity to do that if there's anything in particular. I don't really have a good solution otherwise. To answer your question, no, we do not have a mechanism in place for sharing information. I suppose something we could talk about bringing forward a study session. I guess, Director Choi, if you have anything in particular that you thought was noteworthy and learned from, if you could email me or call me, and then we can, and that same goes for everyone else, and then we may want to have a study session to discuss that at an upcoming meeting. I think that probably unfortunately, again, just because the nature of us being remote all the time, I think that's probably, if we want to have a conversation around that, it would be, we could set a study session.
I feel like a study session might be too long for a debrief of that sort.
We could have the first 30 minutes of a study session dedicated to it too.
Or 10.
Or 10, yeah. But that's a really good idea. So if anyone has ideas they want to share, things they want to discuss, send me an email and we'll get it on in the upcoming agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Director Carlson?
Yeah, so I actually just wanted to make a very public shout out and thank you to Diane. I understand that Diane Jenkins, who's been supporting the board and the superintendents for most of my tenure on the board, is retiring, and we are going to, well, speaking for myself, I'm going to miss her a lot. And Teresa has big shoes to fill. She seems to be stepping up very nicely. But Diane, you have been one of a kind, and it's been a huge pleasure to work with you.
Yeah, here.
Definitely. One of the best.
Director Stewart?
Yes, a couple of things, and bear with me a second. We had inordinate amount of comment about Emerson and the child care, and I made a rather snide comment towards the end of my swearing-in ceremony, but I'm serious. We closed that thing over my dead body. I'm sorry. It goes against our principles on equity. It goes against our principles on SEL, and to close it for the amount of money it costs, we can find, I mean, as much as I hate accounting, I'll go through the budget line item by line item with somebody to find the money. I do not believe this is a smart move for our community and for our students. Now, on a much lighter note, I wanted to let everybody know that our 13-year-old cricket team is now in the finals in Houston. They're going to be playing on the 17th. We have kids from multiple schools that are participating in it. And let's see, where did it go? Here it is. We have 10 students, in fact. Hamza Shahad from Timberline, Karen Anad from Inglewood, or Karan, I'm sorry, Srikar Nimani from Odell, outside the district, Yetan Mokana from Tesla STEM, Dashan Vijay at Inglewood. Let's see, Danielle Nadoy from Timberline. By the way, I got these phonetically, so I'm trying my best here, folks. Ray Yarn Tajay from Timberline also. Ray Gov Sa Tishush from Timberline. Anish Anoop, I'm sorry, from Redmond, I believe middle school. Let's see, and Yvonne Winod from Maywood. Sohan Batina from Timberline, and Kush Mittal from Cougar. And I think that it's admirable. I mean, Lord knows, I can't imagine being able to go to a national championship at age 13. And I think they've got to have a round of applause from everybody, because the pressure, I can imagine as a 13-year-old going to a national tournament. That's just amazing. And I congratulate them and their coaches and also their parents for helping them get that far.
Director Bleasner. Director Bleasner, was your hand?
I mute. Took a little bit. I did have some similar questions just in regards to the Emerson Child Care. Listening to some of the feedback and knowing it has a multifaceted pieces around it. I would appreciate some, I guess, deeper understanding or that around how potentially was our staff and people included in the decision around this occurring and those sorts of things. Because there is a clear, and actually I will admit, as I listened to this, my thought was the speaking to the program and what's occurring, there's a lot of value behind that I was hearing. So just interested to understand the process better and to better understand that component in which going forward, because I appreciate the work that went into determining that. Just sometimes other pieces come out that we maybe did not hear prior, so I guess I would ask for some deeper dive into that a little more for better understanding.
And
okay,
if I may.
Yes.
On that topic, actually, the board briefs did speak to the rationale behind it, which spoke to relatively low enrollment of children being cared for. The question that I didn't see addressed there is participation. How many students is it serving? It does have to be more than 0 children are enrolled in the program in order to be a useful program. But it's something that it would be good to know more about there. That said, I want to acknowledge that Director Stewart does not have the authority to do anything over his dead body. It takes 5 of us to direct the superintendent. So I just want that to be clear to the population who might be watching this.
By the way, there's a dozen kids in that program, a dozen children being cared for.
Let's hear. So,
sorry, I wasn't asking about children being cared for. I'm asking about how many students are participating in. That's where I can see the value.
So that I can talk is what I'm going to do. First business, and then second, I'll end with something nice. Dr. Holman, on the Emerson preschool. I had a question. I'd like some additional follow-up in board briefs. Just echoing Director Bleasner. I'm not going to repeat everything she said, but I had the same questions. The other question I had is, in the board brief, it referenced looking for other partnerships with YMCA or other community organizations to provide daycare services. I would like to know a little more about what that would look like in terms of cost to the participants, the services that can be provided. And I recognize from reading the board briefs that was work that is ongoing, and you will not have those answers. But that's another question I had. And then related to that, I guess a lot of the public comment we received tonight from the community was asking the board to reverse this decision. And for everyone in the community and to remind ourselves on the board this is an operational decision. It's not a board decision. Our job is to govern through policy and to monitor performance and evaluate performance. The board did not make the decision to end this program. That decision was made by staff, and it is our job to evaluate performance ultimately and judge Dr. Holman upon that. Similarly, it is not the role of the board to, under our governance structure, which we all agreed upon, is not the role of the board to undo this decision. I recognize that for those who want the board to do that, that would be frustrating. But that is not our governance structure. So I'm actually going to table my second part because I think Director Stewart wanted to maybe respond to something I said, and then part two.
It violates. Closing this will violate our policy on equity, and I think open us up to lawsuits. But from a policy perspective, it violates our policy of equity, and there is where we come in. Thank you.
The second thing, I also want to recognize Diane Jenkins for her service to this district and to the students and to the board. Diane was I was elected to the board not as a parent yet, and had essentially no interaction with the district. I was involved in the long-term facilities task force, but had very little interaction with the district, and was honestly frightened when I first joined the board. And Diane was the first face that I saw when I went into the district office for the first time to meet with staff and have my head spin for several hours. And it made a big difference to me to have somebody so just immediately kind greeting me as a board member. It really it just meant a lot, and it still means a lot to me. And I've enjoyed working with you tremendously, Diane, and I will immensely miss you. And congratulations on your retirement. But I'm sad. Dr. Holman.
Yeah, I realize I'm not a board member, but I would love to make a comment at this juncture. I got to work with Diane as deputy superintendent as well, and then as I transitioned into the superintendency, felt very fortunate to have a familiar partner to make that transition with me in the midst of a pandemic. And Diane's a trusted partner. She's confidential. Anything I tell her, she keeps in confidence, and I appreciate that. And that is a unique characteristic that not everyone has, and so that is always something. And she knows I appreciate that about her. Diane loves public education. She's served in public education, I believe, for 40 years. I am the 13th superintendent that she has supported. And I feel fortunate that I was the last before she transitions to a very well-planned retirement. How do I know Diane loves public education? She cannot talk about the closing of a school in Shoreline School District without crying. And she talks about the devastation of families, the devastation of students, but it also was the devastation for staff that were in kind of that rock and a hard place situation, knowing how much they loved kids, how much they appreciated the community, yet had to make this difficult decision. She can't talk about that without crying because it was so impactful and meaningful for her to see the district go through that process. She cites the many boundary processes that we've gone through, and she talks about the challenges and how proud she was to be part of the solutions of figuring out how to address our boundaries, even in the midst of some very heated processes. And so through it all, I could count on Diane. If an angry parent called, I knew Diane would take care of that parent and talk to them, empathize with them, and get them to the right place so that they could address their issue. And she did it with grace and dignity and care, and that was something I've always appreciated. And so Diane's a good friend, and I'm going to miss her as she transitions to her retirement. But as I have told her, I am so glad she gets to transition to her retirement that she's planned for, that she's ready for, and she's going to have such a great time. So, going to miss you, Diane. And of course, she doesn't come on camera, by the way.
Here.
But she's listening.
Consistent.
Retirement
That's
is that
fine.
reward
Thank
you
you
get
so
for
much,
getting
Dan.
up at 5 o'clock every morning.
Okay, any other board member comments tonight?
I just want to do a quick shout out. Thank you, Diane. It's been fabulous. And I look forward to hearing about your retirement.
You made the world make a much easier place to work in this district. Thank you.
Okay, we've reached the end of our agenda. The next board meeting is not until January 10. The study session at 5 p.m., the meeting to be held remotely, followed by the board meeting at 7 p.m., also to be held remotely. And I will now entertain a motion to adjourn the December 6, 2021 meeting.
So moved.
So move. Second.
Moved by Director Carlson, seconded by Director Bleasner that we adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by voting aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for everyone who helped to solve the technology issues too. Really appreciate it.
Yes, and Diane, your last meeting, we have tech issues. It's just the karma gods saying goodbye. Thank you so much for all your help so many times.